The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program in the internet, with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube, and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you can comment on what you see there. And by the way, we have just licensed for various news agencies to provide us stories and video up to date right there on the blog. And thanks to our friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio. Well, we're syndicated across the United States of America to 12 million additional households. How cool is that? We're going to talk about Tibet today, whether or not our esteemed guest connects with us or not. Our guest is not in Kathmandu, in Paris. And we're having a little difficulty contacting him by phone, but we will get to that story one way or the other because there is a lot of interest in the situation. Before we start the program, I want to remind you that the Paltalk is attempting to raise some money to save some children's lives in Africa. For those of you who are in the Paltalk virtual auditorium, if you look at the static display at the top of the auditorium, you will see a URL there that you can click on that will link you to the place where you can pledge money, and it doesn't have to be a lot of money, to save the lives of children with mosquito netting, children who are dying on a daily basis from malaria. Isn't that amazing that in the Western world there is no such thing as malaria? We've wiped it out. But in Africa, it continues, and about at least 1.5 million people die each year. Some estimates are as high as 2.7 million, and 70% of the deaths are children under the age of 5. This comes to 7 jumbo jets full of children disappearing from malaria every single day. It just costs $5, ladies and gentlemen, $5 to buy a bed net that will save the lives of 2 children, because they put it over 2 children. One net is big enough to cover 2 children at night, to keep those children from getting bitten by mosquitoes and dying of malaria. So we're asking you to please click on the link, and those of you who are listening on CRN Digital Talk Radio, if you go to Madness Against Malaria, that's one word, MADNESSAGAINSTMALARIA.com/Paltalk. You can click on there and help us save some lives in Africa. What a great thing to do. We're going to hopefully hear from our guest today, Tenzin Dorjee, the International Deputy Director of Students for a Free Tibet. I'm going to kind of tread water a little bit here while we're trying to contact him in Paris, and bring Alan Jacey in to talk about a story that just absolutely astounds me, that in 2008, in an age of reasoning, one would think this kind of thing is happening. And it happened in Connecticut the other day, and now it's happened in Wisconsin. Let me read you, Alan, the latest dispatch from Fox News. Well, this is an Associated Press piece on foxnews.com. Dateline, Weston, Wisconsin. An 11-year-old girl died after her parents prayed for healing rather than seek medical help for a treatable form of diabetes, police said. Everest Metro Police Chief Dan Vergen said Madeline Newman died Sunday. She got sicker and sicker until she was dead, he said. Vergen said an autopsy determined the child died from diabetic ketoacidosis, an ailment that left her with too little insulin in her body. What's that?
It's ketoacidosis.
Ketoacidosis. an ailment that left her with too little insulin in her body, and she had probably been ill for about 30 days, suffering symptoms like nausea, vomiting, excessive thirst, loss of appetite, and weakness. The girl's parents, ladies and gentlemen, it's an 11-year-old child, Dale and Leilani Newman, attributed the death to the fact that apparently they didn't have enough faith. This really raises some interesting questions, because we want to be able to practice our various faiths, Alan, without interference from the government. But when a child's life is at stake, shouldn't somebody be compelling the parents to seek medical help for the child?
But the interesting thing here, Gary, is that in the past, these situations have occurred. Usually it's with organized sects of Christianity. It could be the Christian Scientists. It could be the Jehovah's Witnesses. Sometimes these ill children, their families are compelled by courts to seek medical attention. In this particular case, the Newmans weren't part of any church. They were part of a smaller Bible study group that was linked to an organization, but it wasn't like they actually went to a physical church or reading room, like Christian Scientists and Jehovah's Witnesses do. I mean, they were basically out there on their own. And supposedly, from some of the other research I've done, some of the family members have been trying to contact the authorities. But again, I think it was just one of those cases. It was too little too late, and unfortunately this poor child was a victim of her parents' beliefs. They may not have been her own beliefs. I mean, she was too young to have any say in this. It's just a terrible tragedy.
It is a terrible tragedy. I don't know. I'm saddened. I guess there were two of these in this past week. Here we are trying to raise a few bucks to save a couple of kids' lives in Africa, and we feel that, we are a nation of reasoned individuals where this kind of thing could never happen, and it does. Unfortunately, Boaz keeps getting somebody talking to him in French on a voicemail every time he calls our guest, and he has no idea what they're telling him.